Okay, welcome everybody. Now that I see that our guests and members of the community have entered and have taken a seat, I call our meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. to begin the Palm Desert City Council meeting on Thursday, May 9th. Can we please have the roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Here.
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Here.
Councilmember Truby. Here. Mayor Quintanilla.
Present.
All council is present.
For today's meeting, the Pledge of Allegiance will be conducted by Mayor Pro Tem Harnick, followed by the inspiration from Councilmember Kelly.
Thomas Edison wrote, "I have not failed 10,000 times. I have successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work." I offer this in the hope that every single time we are benefited by a light bulb, it will inspire us to embrace a spirit of innovation, even if that includes sometimes spending time finding ways that do not work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Kelly. At this time, we move on to item 5, awards, presentations, and appointments. And first, we will be recognizing the participants of the Civic Academy.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, and esteemed members of the public. My name is Ryland Penta, and I'm honored to serve as the Community Relations Supervisor for the City of Palm Desert. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to all the graduates of the Spring 2024 Civic Academy program. Today, we celebrate their dedication, commitment, and charisma for these 15 individuals who have completed an enriching 5-session program. I would also like to recognize 10 additional participants who could not attend today's meeting. The Civic Academy serves as a gateway to understanding the inner workings of Palm Desert city government, covering a breadth of topics from A to Z, or as I like to say, from art to zoning. Through 20 engaging presentations and interactive tours, participants delve into various municipal processes and projects. What is truly remarkable about the Civic Academy is not just the knowledge gained, but the bonds formed and the memories shared. Participants forge enduring relationships with city staff and fellow community members, enriching the fabric of our close-knit Palm Desert community. For those among the public who are interested in the Civic Academy, please consider applying to our October 2024 program. Whether you're a resident, a student attending a Palm Desert school, or you own a business or work for a business in our city, applications are opened and we encourage you to apply. Please go to www.palmdesert.gov/Civic Academy, and applications are due Friday, September 13th. In a few moments, Mayor Quintanilla will begin calling out the names of our graduates, and I invite you to join me in congratulating each of them as they come to the stage and receive a certificate, and then stand here for a photo on the dais steps. Mayor Quintanilla.
Thank you, everyone, for your time, for your commitment, your dedication to the city, and helping improve us all with your perspective. And that's how we grow stronger. I'd like to congratulate Avi Rodriguez. Bob McCauley. Kathy Malone. Estelle Dahl. Juanita Starkovich. Oh, wait, James Allwhite. I got too excited. James Allwhite. Can both come up together. Thank you. Jennifer Rhodes. Janet. It's the Janet. Janet Hare. John Harrell. Jose Cano. Joyce Harity. Kathleen Dale. Mary Woods. Monica McElroy. And finally, Nancy Provost. See, that brought us a little bit closer at least. I'm sure. There we go. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you again.
Madam Mayor, before all of the Civic Academy graduates leave, I want to remind everybody that the deadline to apply for a board and commission is tomorrow. So if you are interested in serving on any of our boards, commissions, task forces, committees, please apply by tomorrow. And the website is www.palmdesert.gov/volunteers with an S at the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Clerk. At this point, I believe that we will be polling item 5B. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Mayor, unfortunately, Carol is not able to be here tonight.
Thank you. And now item C, the proclamation for Pollinator Week. Whereas pollinator species such as honeybees, butterflies, birds, bats, beetles, and moths are essential to the global production of food on farms and in nature, they are vital for keeping people healthy through a broad selection of fruits, nuts, and vegetables in our diets. Whereas each person can make an impact to support pollinators through vibrant, sustainable plants throughout the year, and by placing and maintaining nectar feeders that making and keeping them clean to attract a variety of pollinators such as hummingbirds and bees, providing year-round sources for pollen and nectar that are essential for the healthy pollinator population. Whereas healthy pollinator populations are critical to the continued economic well-being for the state of California through 1.3 million acres of farmland and 38 billion in revenue across 2.5% of California's gross domestic product in 2021, reinforcing that California's agriculture, farmers, and farm workers feed the nation. Whereas the severe decline in the bee population is estimated to be 30% of the colony since 2006, warrants a call to action for people in Palm Desert to take personal measures to support pollinators, committing to sustainability and healthy environments. Whereas vibrant gardens attract pollinators and using natural alternatives to harmful commercial pesticides and insecticides, planting flowers such as marigolds, lavender, geranium, and lemongrass, as well as planting herbs such as peppermint, rosemary, and thyme, ensure a safe supply of pollen and nectars while avoiding the presence of bothersome insects. Whereas the City of Palm Desert continues to build upon previous projects with the pollinator garden in Civic Center Park, the colorful murals on San Pablo, and at the UCR Palm Desert campus, and many future projects for the decades ahead, our commitment to pollinators, sustainability, and responsible stewardship of our natural resources. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Karina Quintanilla, Mayor of the City of Palm Desert, California, along with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of June 19th through the 25th as the City of Palm Desert Pollinator Week. And we have a surprise. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, is almost amongst the oldest public servants. And whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerks provide the professional link between citizens, local government bodies, and agencies that govern at other levels, honoring their pledge to be ever mindful of their neutrality and partiality, rendering equal services to all. And whereas the professional municipal clerks are the information center that strengthen our community's relationship with local government, preparing detailed agendas, maintaining meticulous records, and timely responses to inquiries. And whereas the Office of Professional Municipal Clerks guided the City of Palm Desert from 2019 to 2024 to full compliance with the California Voter Rights Act, implementation of Measure B, the redistricting process throughout education, transparent communication, town halls, and public hearings. And whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings across the state, country, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appreciated that we recognize the accomplishments of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk. Now therefore, I, Karina Quintanilla, along with the entire City Council of Palm Desert, California, by the power vested in us, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through the 9th to be Municipal Clerks Week.
I thought you liked each other. If I could just say a quick word. I've got the best team in Palm Desert, in California. They make this process and programs so easy to do. They're very professional and very well adept at doing all of their work duties, and I appreciate every single one of them. Thank you.
We move on to item number 6, city manager comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to invite Lieutenant Porras up to give a brief overview of the city council on issues that current interest to the sheriff's department.
Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate the time up here. Thank you very much. I want to give some safety tips regarding buying and selling using online marketplaces. We've had some issues in the past couple months and want to make sure everybody's safe doing this. Make sure you complete your due diligence before meeting. Check the buyer or seller's reviews to make sure that their profile seems legit. Use the marketplace messaging to communicate. Having record of this entire transaction may be helpful in case there's a problem with the purchase, payment, or anything later on. Most importantly, make sure you meet in a public, well-lit area like the local police station or here at the substation in front of City Hall. Avoid sales transactions that require you to pay with gift cards. Choose shipping if it's an option, and do not share any personal information or financial information such as passwords, accounts, or other information. And most importantly, make sure you just have happy shopping time online. And the next thing I wanted to say was talking to Chief Beverlin, it's getting hot. We're having a lot of hikers that are going to be taken to the trails, even though it's getting warm. We understand that it's eager, it's a fun place, it's great exercise, but make sure you plan your routes, check the weather, dress accordingly. Before heading out, tell somebody your plans. Stay hydrated, nourished, and wear sunscreen. Wear appropriate footwear, take breaks, be prepared for emergencies. That's most important. And know your limits. If you need help, tell somebody, call us. CAL FIRE and the Sheriff's Department will be out there to help. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Those are excellent tools to keep in mind with the marketplaces year-round. Thank you. Item number 7. Oh, is there anything else? Okay, thank you. Item number 7, Mayor and Council members' reports and requests for action. We'll start on this end of things with Councilmember Kelly.
Nothing to share this evening.
Councilmember Nestundu.
Nothing to share this evening as well.
Thank you. Like to go, Evan, or Mayor Pro Tem?
I'll make it quick. Nothing to share. Thank you.
Something to share. The Artists Council at the Galen, which is right over at the end of El Paseo and 111, is showcasing the Young Artist Exhibition. And it's brilliant. These are all students from our high schools across the valley. And if you get a chance, go on over there. It is through May 12th, and it is a treat. So if you can go over there, please do. The Southern California Association of Governments had their General Assembly right here in Palm Desert, and that's for 6 counties of Southern California. It had great information. There were, going back to students, some brilliant work done by some of our students from across Southern California. And it was worth attending. There was, again, it was relevant information and really important to our city. The other thing, I want to mention the Coachella Valley Conservation Commission, and Councilmember Truby and I both attend and represent at that committee. And today, Jim Karpiak, who has served since 2013 as the executive director, is retiring. And he has been responsible for procuring more than 5,000 acres of conservation land. It was, this was set forth by the CV Multiple Species Habitat Conservation Plan, and he has done a wonderful job, and we all should thank him for what he has done, keeping open spaces and making sure to protect our desert. And he is retiring after 11 years serving in that position, and he's done a wonderful job. It's Mother's Day coming up. Everybody's got a mom, so say thank you. And I think that is about, oh, ICSC, which is the Shopping Center Convention. It is for us to explore economic development for our city. We go every year. It has paid off hugely, and we will be going again next week, I believe. And we will report back afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I attended a few events. Last week, I had the privilege of being a speaker at Palm Desert High School for their Ophelia project. I was able to attend the public hearing for the Desert Healthcare District regarding their decision to either renew or sell the hospital over to Tenet. That has a lot of people swaying and looking for input. So please, if that is an item near and dear to your heart, please reach out, email the Desert Healthcare District. I was able to attend this week the Palm Desert High School Optimist Club Senior of the Year. And one of the seniors present is the son of our own Martin Alvarez. I attended the McCallum Policy Education Committee, and I believe it's 276 classrooms that they have served. There are some elementary schools where every single classroom is receiving some sort of art curriculum through the McCallum. At the Cultural Arts Committee this week, we had a robust discussion on a proposal that will be coming before the council at another time. This morning, the Harvey Milk Breakfast. It was a great opportunity, and Jessica Collins, a COD student, was recognized with an award, and she has the opportunity to speak to youth in the Coachella Valley, the LA area, across Canada, and Nairobi, and has had the opportunities to speak over 3,000 people. I also was able to meet with a few people from the Firebirds, because they've seen the way that we're working with our autism certification. They reached out to see how we can engage in a sensory-friendly night. So be on the lookout if you want to attend or advocate. It can be a fundraiser. So I'm looking forward to the autism awareness and sensory-friendly night. And as far as an ask, I would like to request that for our table sponsorships, we include attending the Harvey Milk Breakfast. Palm Desert was, I think it may have been the only city that wasn't listed as having sponsored a table, and we want to clearly establish that we are allies and respect our entire community. Do I have support?
Yes.
Thank you. So I look forward to that being on a future agenda item.
Does it need to be a future agenda item? We have a subcommittee that can approve that.
So I then have that, if we could please have it go to that committee for consideration.
I'll ask City Clerk to help me with that. Yes.
Okay, moving on to non-agenda public comments. Would you be so kind as to read, first off, do we have any online comments? That's what I meant to ask.
Madam Mayor, no online comments, but for the housekeeping remarks for those on Zoom, if you do want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. If you're joining by calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. And we still have no public comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We do have several comment cards here. This is the time that has been set aside for the public to address the City Council on issues that are not on the agenda for up to 3 minutes. Speakers may use one of the 3 options listed on our first page of the agenda. Because of the Brown Act, it does not allow the City Council to act on these items that are not listed on the agenda, but members may briefly respond or refer the matter to staff for a report and recommendation for a future meeting. The first card I have is for Mr. Brad Anderson.
Well, thank you. I must have been bumped to the first of the line. Thank you. My name's Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Ransom Mirage and just want to take a moment of your time to speak about a few topics. I noticed the board discussed on the committees and boards that they participated in, I guess before the last meeting. Transportation was an important meeting this I guess I can't remember when that happened. Yesterday? I can't remember. That's pretty sad. But I just want everybody to know that they are looking at proposing a ballot measure in November for a 1% sales tax increase. So that's just something to look for, and people should know about that. Earlier the better. And another issue, if this city had elected official that sat on the Coachella Valley Mosquito and Vector Control Districts, which they do not. Last night, it was detected, or last night it was reported to the trustees of that board that positive West Nile virus mosquito pool was discovered in the city of Coachella. And I'm bringing that up because it's important, because I don't believe the city gets regular reports that they can relay to the public. And that's important, because that's just a mindful thing to keep in mind. Well, a thing to keep in mind to dump those standing water, stagnant water, and just make sure your property is free of any mosquito sources or mosquito potential sources. And I just want to ask again that this board or this city consider allowing public comment at the study sessions that you have. This is the only city, this is the only entity I know of that doesn't allow public input on that topic. And I understand the premise of why you don't do that, but again, it is a public meeting. It is publicly funded, and the public should have, other than an email option to participate in that meeting, to actually come and participate live and really be be as inclusive as possible. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. I have a comment card from Brad. Oh, there's another one from Brad, but this is for a agenda item. So we'll call you back up after that.
Comments also.
Okay. Tammy Bennett, please.
Mayor, councilmen, or members, and Mr. Heilman. After more than a year of waiting, I stand before.
Can I trouble you to bring the microphone down so we can all hear you and our folks online?
Better?
Much better,
Better?
thank you.
Okay. After more than a year of waiting, I stand before you today, and I implore the city of Palm Desert to stay true to your word and to do the right thing. After 6 years of pre-planning by the city, but with only a few hours notice to the residents of Whitestone Lane, on April 24th, 2023, the drainage project began, with my property receiving the brunt of the project. The project, which cost the taxpayers dearly, cost me even more. The project devalued my property, damaged my driveway, delayed my kitchen remodel, and to this day continues to disrupt my life. As the project began, assurances were made to me regarding the destruction and restoration of my property, specifically my yard and my driveway. Prior to the demolition of my yard, I had gone to great expense to have the yard newly landscaped. The city destroyed all the landscaping and the vegetation, but assured me it would be fully restored to the way it was found. What they failed to mention is this was not possible due to the fact that they had changed the topography of the yard, placed 2 manhole covers in my yard, put in an unsightly curb, and a large cement slab. Although the new landscaping was placed, the property is still devalued with the ugly eyesores left behind, the manhole covers, the curb, and the cement slab. During the construction process, my driveway was also damaged. A commitment was made to replace the damaged sections of the driveway, but so far, nothing has been done to resolve this issue. The lack of communication by the city also greatly delayed my kitchen remodel. My kitchen remodel was scheduled to start the very same day on April 24th, 2023, and the kitchen had already been cleared and made ready for demolition. For almost 9 months, my husband and I had to go to the extra expense of eating out or getting food and bring it in because we did not have a functioning kitchen. And all of this could have been avoided if the city had just communicated this to the 9 residents on our lane. Although the city has since moved on from Whitestone Lane, this nuisance project continues to disrupt the quality of our lives because our kitchen remodel had to be worked into the contractor's busy
Thank you
schedule.
very much. I
It's
cut
still
everybody off
not done.
right at the time for courtesy for everyone's time.
I
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
that.
The
Thank
next
you.
speaker that we have is Barbara Weissenberg.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Barbara Wasserkrug, and I'm a Palm Desert resident. A topic that's at the forefront of everyone's mind is healthcare, especially the healthcare that we are receiving here in the Coachella Valley. What many of you may not be aware of is that we are receiving the artificial intelligence precision healthcare for a very long time now already. In 2015, State of the Union address, President Obama announced the launching of the Precision Healthcare Initiative, quote, a bold new research effort to revolutionize how we improve health and treat disease, end quote. The mission statement is, quote, to enable a new era of medicine through research, technology, and policies that empower patients, researchers, and providers to work together toward a development of individual care, end quote. That sounds wonderful, doesn't it? And because I know that the city of Palm Desert only wants the best for its residents and visitors, I would like to personally invite the city council members, city employees, people watching on Zoom today, and all residents of Palm Desert and their friends and neighbors to attend my presentation titled Artificial Intelligence Precision Healthcare to Transhumanism to Posthumanism, to find out the truth of what is really going on in our healthcare system today. I'm a concerned citizen that is not affiliated with any organization or political group. The date of my free presentation is Friday, May 31st. The place is Desert Cities Baptist Church, located at 42825 Tierra del Oro in Palm Desert. Please RSVP. I have flyers here today, so you can feel free to pick one of them up to get the information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Nancy Gutierrez.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for letting us speak today. My name is Nancy Gutierrez. I live in Palm Desert, California. I just wanted to touch on the fact that we've had stuff being sprayed up in our skies for a long time, probably about 60 years worth of weather warfare. And when you talk about this green agenda that the federal government wants to do, none of it is legitimate for the fact that the spraying of the skies, the geoengineering that's going on, that's given us hail and other weird weather all around the world, that has not ever been factored in to the United Nations, any of that. And quite frankly, I think the problems in our skies and with our pollution have to do with what's being sprayed up in the skies. And when you talk about monitoring pollution, that doesn't make any sense. We need to address what's going on up there. I know there's one state, or maybe it's a city, Tennessee, that just agreed to ban geoengineering. We all need to be thinking about that because none of this is legitimate unless you address what's going up and being sprayed in the skies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I see Josh Hines.
Hello, I know most of you, so anyway, it's good to see you. My name is Josh Hines. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at Visit Greater Palm Springs. I want to take a moment and thank the City of Palm Desert, the mayor, the council, and the city staff for being such wonderful partners, for collaborating with us on marketing and sales efforts, to supporting student scholarships and education through the Tourism Foundation, and of course, for being the state's first city to become certified autism center through IBCCES. As you know, Visit Greater Palm Springs is working with IBCCES and our partners across the Coachella Valley to become a certified autism destination. Your collaboration and leadership on this initiative has been invaluable. And as the father of 3 boys on the spectrum, this effort is very meaningful for me. Autism is now diagnosed in 1 out of every 36 children in the US, and this initiative that we're pushing aims to get businesses and organizations across the valley to take training about autism, so that they may better serve those on the spectrum or those with sensory needs and their families. There is a cost to the businesses for this training, and though it is a valuable investment for any business, we know that the cost can sometimes be prohibitive, especially for small businesses and nonprofits. We are asking each city to consider creating a small grant fund to help your businesses get certified, particularly those businesses most frequented by families in your community, like attractions, museums, theaters, restaurants, and youth programs. This would be an investment in your city and its residents, and it would be a valuable visitor marketing tool. Visit Greater Palm Springs and the Tourism Foundation are also actively looking for sources of funding and other ways to provide grants to our local businesses to complete this certification. Together, we can help create a more understanding and inclusive community for individuals on the spectrum and drive this initiative far past just earning the Certified Autism Designation. Certified Autism Destination designation. Sorry, I got 1 minute. All right, I'm doing good. Again, thank you, Mayor, City Council, and city staff for your commitment to autism and neurodiversity training, enhancing your capability to interact with and serve your community and employees more effectively. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions. You all have my number. But it's simply put, away from the script, we're just asking the cities set aside a grant fund. As you know, the certification is a 2-year certification. So, you know, you can help pay for your businesses to get certified, because the most common thing I hear is, oh, I don't know if I can make that investment yet. So we're asking all the cities to do that. Put aside some money. And I got here before you signed your budget, because I know you were doing your budget stuff. So before you sign it, set aside some money, please, and help these businesses so they can help us parents and the community at large. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heilman, is that something that we could put out for consideration at another time?
Yes.
Thank you. And our last non-agenda comment is from Alan Carvalho.
Good afternoon. I would like for you to listen to
This is about Palm Desert. It's not about you and your.
Sorry.
We're here for Palm Desert. This is about Palm Desert. It's not about you and your advancement in leadership. We really are here for Palm Desert.
Passes 4-1 with Councilmember Trippi voting no.
First of all, I wanted to say I called Jan on her cell phone to express my outrage over what appeared to be a blatant disregard for diversity. For the very first Latina mayor of Palm Desert, how did you propose not supporting the mayor attending a conference that would benefit the entire city, not just the Latino population, and then hang Evan out to dry by voting against your own objection? Don't many of you go to ICSC? You just mentioned it. You went last year. Why would you go Why would you go this year? You went last year. The reason is that each year there are new speakers, new information, and new people to network with. So why the resistance for a Latino leadership conference? Are you speculating as a white woman that everything is the same as last year and hence no need for a mayor to attend a Latino conference? And then to propose a white man who you said we couldn't afford to take to the meeting, he would take the place of the mayor? What do we do? What does the Palm Desert Way mean? You mentioned that in the meeting. What does that mean? Are we to draw the conclusion that there's racism here? White supremacy here? Because that's what it sounds like. You got to know something. The last time you and I had a coffee for 2 hours, it was about your racist flyers against Manny Perez. And I thought, is it time for another coffee, Jan? Well, I called you hoping that we could resolve this over the phone. You never found a way to resolve it. So here we are. We should be celebrating diversity. The reason that we have districts is that people like the minorities can actually get voted in fairly. How much power do you want? Don't we have a right for diversity? Don't we? Don't we have a right to express ourselves freely and not be afraid? I got here at 3 o'clock. Somehow I was at the bottom of the list to speak. I don't mind, but it just seemed a little suspicious. Why is that? I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I'm watching. We're all watching, especially since it's an election. And we're watching everything you do. Please, you are civil servants. You serve the people. And when you say the Palm Desert Way, you voted against your own objection. You were the only, there was one person, Mr. Evan, that voted against the mayor going to the
Thank
Latino
you so
conference.
very much. Just cut off everybody off at 3 minutes. I much appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks to all of our speakers. Now we move on to item 9, the consent calendar. And per a few of these cards, let's see, where did they go? For agenda items, one resident would like to pull items 9D, H, I, and item 11A. Yes.
Madam Mayor, unless you want to do something different, the consent calendar, the public would be able to speak on the consent calendar once, and then it would be up to the council to decide if you wanted to pull any of the items for further discussion.
Can you repeat that again? I was trying to
Certainly.
keep track of who gave multiple cards.
So the members of the public will have 3 minutes to speak on any of the consent items. And then after the public comment is closed, if the council would like to remove any of the items for separate discussion, you can do so.
Let me keep these straight. We've got quite the bundle here. While I get this sorted out, do any of my fellow council members choose to pull any item before we get to this?
I think the clerk was suggesting to take the comments first.
Perfect. Okay. So we have Mr. Anderson who's speaking on, you have 2 cards for a total of 4 items. Does this mean you still only get 3 minutes, or would he be allowed 3 minutes per item?
I believe he submitted an item 10A or 10B or 11A. That would be a separate public comment.
Okay, so that's 11A, and we've got 9D, H, and I. Is that
Yes.
correct for those items?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Brad Anderson. I wanted to speak on item 9D, 9H, and 9I. And I agree with your clerk. This is, he has a great point. This is really how.
I'd like to interrupt. Asking the clerk, I will have to recuse myself for 9I. How should we deal with that? Can maybe he just do the other 2 and then I'll leave? Okay, thank you.
That's why I was trying to see if we needed to extract, because she'd mentioned the recusal before. Thank you.
So Mr. Anderson, if you could avoid that one item, we'll bring you up. That item will get pulled. And if you could just address the other items.
I would do that item first then. No, I'm kidding. I'm done. Ashley, I just wanted to, I'll keep it brief. This is just, item 9D is just concerning your second reading of the detached, I have automotive parts, meaning catalytic converters. I testified before concerning that, and I'm sure it's a go. It's just, I worry that people might get pulled into that, mechanics, so forth, wrongfully, and that's my concern, it being just a broad type of, installment. And, I'll skip down to, 9H, I guess, and that's just concerning the El Paseo art. This I'm all in favor of. I just, I went to one of the, art commission meetings, I submitted some paperwork, and it's just lost forever. It's not found, it's never been spoken about. So I worry that maybe the public, participation, that aspect of it is lost. So that's why I made my Fisher claim. And again, this is all written down. I read it, I wrote, comments. So, and that's all I have on that. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would please stay up there so we can address that at this time. Would this be the proper time for recusal?
Not quite. We would take whatever public comment that's not related to 9I. And once the council passes the consent calendar, at that time, you'll also remove item 9I for separate discussion.
Okay, perfect. So do I have a motion?
I'll move the remainder of consent.
I'll second it.
I want to pull one item, sorry. I believe it was F. Yeah, F.
So you're requesting to pull 9F?
Yes, please.
Approve the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee 2024-2025 work plan. Do we have a report from staff on that item? Do we
Or
have?
we vote on the remainder.
All right, just all of the pulling them and knowing they're out of order. I apologize and thank you for your patience. So having the remainder would be item F and item I. So those are the two items that we're pulling.
Yes.
And then we would need to take a vote for 9 and I separately in order to allow the recusal of Mayor Pro Tem. Is that correct?
Correct. So at this moment, we'll take the vote on the balance of the consent calendar. And unfortunately, the voting system's not working. Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Trubie,
Yes.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. And then the next item's 9F.
Thank you very much. So with 9F, who will be presenting on the approval of the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee 2024 and 2025 work plan.
Does Councilmember Trubie have a specific question?
Sure. Okay, so reading through this, resource preservation enhancement, what struck out at me and what I wanted to address and have explained is the $118,000 consultant contract. A few things specifically. We have several other committees and commissions. This just seemed unusual. It seems like all the other committees and commissions operate free with city staff and citizen input. And anyway, and it also, looking through it, I saw lots of great ideas and suggestions from the membership, and I thought, well, going to consultants seemed a little bit overboard. So I'd like to have it explained.
So I can answer, first I'll answer the $118,000 for the consultant contract. The Department of Energy, we applied for a grant to develop to help us develop a climate action plan. And we were awarded $118,000 from the Department of Energy for that purpose. We just got approved for that task, I think maybe 2 weeks ago. And so that's where that funding will be coming from. So it is going to be paid for with grant funds. And we did include that as part of the budget, and it was part of the study session that we held. So that is grant funding, and it was included in the study session. And what was the next question?
Is this unusual? And in other words, have other committees and commissions been awarded a similar type of budget towards consulting in order to aid them in their work? Also, that's a question. I'll have one comment before we're through.
Okay, no problem. I don't know what the practice for other committees and commissions are as far as budgets go, but I know that one of the city's goals as part of the environmental initiatives plans was to develop a climate action plan. And so the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee will certainly be involved in that process because it's going to include a lot of civic engagement, and also some of the members will be involved in developing the plan. And so that is definitely going to be on their priority list for the next 18 months. So that it's not the monetary side of it. It's basically part of the work plan is to get that job done on behalf of the city, include them in the process.
And I do have another question.
Well, and I'll jump in terms of, it's really not unusual when we have a citizen committee that is tasked by the council with a specific mission. And for an example, the Cultural Resources Preservation Committee, last year, we took them through exactly the same process. They identified 5 or 6 goals that they would, that Richard and I agreed that staff would work on them on. One of them was a historical survey of the community. So we could identify, what properties might be eligible for landmarking. Not that it would be a mandatory project, just simply the survey. We did apply for grant money. We have received the grant dollars to, which project was that, Richard? Was that-
It's when we're in the process it'll be the survey, and then we'll be eligible to apply for grant dollars.
There you go. So it's not unusual to have a citizen-driven commission with a specific mission drive projects like that. We will go out and find grant dollars to help fund those projects. And then it's ultimately up to the council whether they want to accept the grant money and the expense that goes along with it.
Well, and if this didn't move forward, what would happen to that grant money?
Well, because this grant was just approved and the task was just approved, we will be bringing this forward the council to formally accept the grant for this purpose. And so that's really up to the council if they do want to accept it for this purpose. So that's really to be determined. But again, as part of the environmental initiatives plan, one of the goals that we've had set forward, it was sort of a given that this was just going to be accepted because it was part of the goal of the environmental initiatives plan. Okay. And it would be the city's, the Resource Preservation and Enhancement Committee has been operating off of the city sustainability plan, which hasn't been updated since I think 2015. So it's very outdated. So this is something that they'll be working towards that'll bring us up to date. And it'll also give us the opportunity, once it's completed, to be eligible for additional grant funding in the future.
So the city council would have 2 different opportunities for this project as an example. The first one would be whether to accept the grant. If you choose not accept it, it would be returned to the agency that provided the grant to us. If we do accept it, then we'll put together a project, go out and obtain bids. If there's money that is required above and beyond the grant, that's your second opportunity to determine whether you want to stay with the project. So that's generally how these work. We have projects that rely on dollars. It's rare they cover everything. Sometimes they do, but if there's additional budget required, we'll bring it back to you and ask if you still want to move forward.
Perfect. And just one observation, now that we've got this out in the open, or we're talking about it, we get our agendas every week, and this is for the residents as well, just to let you know what I think of the process. It's interesting to me that we get these, agenda items and consent, both action and consent, and, staff's excellent, perfect report, terrific, spells it all out. One thing though, like the fiscal analysis or the fiscal impact of this particular item was listed as 0. And I understand that, from the city's perspective of, general fund money, whatever, this has a 0 impact, but it still is taxpayer dollars that are coming from all of us as well. So there really is still a fiscal impact, and that's just the way I look at it. So thank you very much for the explanation.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead if you'd like.
I was only going to move the item.
Okay, and I'll second it. I just want to add something. This committee, which I refer to as RPEC because it's shorter, has done great work for the city. And they got out in front. We were the first city to do something about plastic bags because of their initiative. So they lay out the groundwork. They do a lot of work, and then the staff picks it up and really fine tunes it. So things like this are great. They are out in the community. They're ambassadors. They help explain to our community what exactly they're doing, what the city's doing, and what the purpose of it is. And they have done great work. So I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with these grant funds. And I know they are motivated to really be part of this process. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you to staff. It's great to see the effort that goes into receiving grants, working with grants, and applying for many, that the research and time that goes into it is very much appreciated. Since we have a first and a second.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Trube,
Yes.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The other item that we have that has been pulled for public comment is item 9H.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I believe it's 9L, related to the denial of the vacation request, the street vacation request.
The one that I see here shows 9D, 9H, 9I.
I believe he meant 9L. I have his written comments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and I will be recusing myself due to the proximity of that property to my home.
Great, thank you very much, Brad Anderson, City of Rancho Mirage. I just wanted to comment on this. I know I did comment at your last meeting concerning this item. I feel that this process of, it's a street vacation, it's very common throughout the state of California to do this, and I believe that maybe this board was under the impression that it wasn't when they denied this and brought it back for a resolution. I have no bearing on this at all. I don't know any of the parties involved. I have been on that piece of property while I worked for the state years ago. And I understand there's 2 easements that go through there, that they're gonna go through there. They're not gonna be removed from this vacation. I just look at this as maybe an injustice. The city may want to benefit from this property, and I agree that they could, distant tax revenue that would be collected, that isn't being collected now from this property owner retaining that piece of property. And I want to emphasize that it's really important that this is a really, my discovery, my investigation in this is this property owner is rather new to that location, but his property taxes doubled. So he's paying nearly $20,000 a year to live in Palm Desert. And he's asking for a small piece of otherwise unusable piece of real estate that has easements and through it anyway. And whatever he would do to it would probably be a lot better than it is now. And I don't see any possibility that the city could use it in any other constructive matter. And that's all I have. I thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Move the item.
I believe you have another speaker card, right? From Ron?
Yeah, they're from, I don't see any that are, nope, that's 10B. That's non-agenda.
I believe
Non-agenda.
he left.
Mr. Ferreira?
Mhm.
That one, yes, there's a note that said he left.
Okay.
So
I'll
I move the item.
second the motion.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi,
Yes.
Councilmember Trube,
Sorry. Yes.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 with Mayor Pro Tem Harnick recused.
Mr. City Clerk, since you said you do have a list of the written comments, I think the numbers that are written on this are either out of sequence or out of order, so I want to be sure. Some of these are written over. Can you clarify which ones still have a comment? Thank you for your patience. Thank you. Just ensuring that we are keeping everything as compliant as we can here. Having moved the balance of the items for consent calendar, we move on to item 10, which is the action calendar. The public may comment on individual action items within the 3-minute time limit. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. The first item we have is 10A, introduction of an ordinance adding section 2.38.070 to the Palm Desert Municipal Code to allow for the electronic or paper filing of campaign finance disclosure statements.
Madam Mayor and City Council, staff is recommending the City Council adopt an ordinance to allow for the electronic or paper filing of campaign finance disclosure statements. Adoption of this ordinance will enable staff to launch a voluntary opt-in program to allow our filers to electronically file their campaign finance disclosure statements. And I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing no
We
questions.
had the opportunity to ask questions before today's session. The answers were all very helpful. It creates a choice rather than a mandate. Choices are always good. So I will move the item.
I'll second.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Nistandy,
Yes.
Councilmember Tribby,
Yes.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 10B, request for direction regarding the Lupin Plaza project, CST 00015.
Good afternoon. All right. So this is an action item for Lupine Plaza. We have an agenda today, which is to run through the project history as well as the current status and then where we're moving forward. The project history of Lupine Plaza is it was established during COVID to support business and commerce. After that, subsequent, we provided direction to staff to move ahead with a full permanent closure in June of 2022. After that, and taking consideration of public comment and stakeholders, we provided staff direction to refine the design to a slow street implementation on Lupine so that through traffic could transit. The current status of the project is that we've held an open house for the community where we presented 2 different design options to construct the project. Exhibit A was improvements on both sides of the street, and Exhibit B was just a single side improvement. We're currently at 30% design. Exhibit B was selected with a single side improvement approach. And we can see this here. Again, this is just a separate depiction of the design on the single side of Lupine Lane. Moving into stakeholder outreach, we've held the Lupine Lane community meeting, as I mentioned, in February. We've also presented this project to the El Paseo board. Prior to that, we've had many subcommittee meetings as well as individual meetings with business owners and stakeholders. The concerns or feedback that we've got is obviously commerce impacts during construction and even long-term, loss of parking, possible vagrancy. Also, we fielded comments that this is a misguided improvement. There's better opportunities to improve El Paseo and also other areas. The feedback that we received on Engage Palm Desert, we had 24 total comments, 9 were favorable and the rest were unfavorable. And during our community meeting, we had over 20 participants to select the design approach. We were only able to solicit 2 votes as the population abstained from voting because they wanted neither option. So the financial side of things, back in June of 2022, when the permanent plaza was selected, we encumbered $4 million. And the subsequent year, we down selected to a slow street. So all of the costs are shown on the table in front of you. And what we're asking today is, shall we continue with the design and construction identified in option 1, the slow street that we're currently at 30% on? Or should we entertain option 2 and discontinue the effort and the construction project? So I'm available to answer any questions and provide any details.
Could I see the slide again about the objections?
Of course.
So vagrancy and loitering, haven't we addressed that already? That we would have systems in place so that would not happen in terms of vagrancy and whatnot on that issue?
Yes,
But-
since the pandemic, we've onboarded basically a whole department that deals with homelessness and outreach, and we have a service provider to provide that. However, that point specifically came from the construction of seating or rest areas in the plaza, and that it would be enticing to sleep overnight adjacent to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your mic. Okay, I am wondering if, when I was at that meeting, a lot of the meeting in February, a lot of the residents had the majority of them had very negative comments, and they were asking at what point there is a way to show how many businesses were contacted. Because I remember one or two of them said that they owned multiple buildings and they don't recall being contacted. So I know the community would want more clarity, and since that's part of the decision and the support from the community, do you have any idea of when that may have come about?
I can answer a portion of that. I'm an assigned project manager on this since September of 23. So prior to this, there was community outreach that was performed. I'm unaware of any of that. I can say that I personally have knocked on the doors, met the business owners, met them at the community meetings, and heard their objection to the project essentially, and told them that my direction was to construct the project and design and build it. So where we're at today is the objection, I believe, is still trickling in or simmering, if you will. And we'd like to know if the council would like staff to continue on its efforts or conclude.
And just to add a little bit to Neil's remarks prior to that, which is where those comments were coming from, Mayor. The city's consultant had reached out to the individual business owners in the adjacent blocks, had private conversations with them to get their feedback. And the group that was most vocal in opposing this wanted that list and wanted those private notes. And so the consultant had assured them that their input would be, consolidated, and so that has been the issue. It's been a two-step information collection process. Neil handled the first part. The other part was prior to him and private conversations with those business owners.
When I look at, because I went back, hold on one second here. I received a lot of additional, like I said, concerns as I've been out and about, a lot of sharp criticism regarding it. And we received public comments today or emails regarding words as strong as vehemently opposed, that it would not be comfortable, that this doesn't support commerce, and that we should let the businesses operate on El Paseo. Is that a common sentiment that was within the other meetings, or was it only the one in February?
No, that's a common sentiment in other meetings as well as in field performance of survey. I get approached by business representatives that want to repeat it.
I mean, I've got, let's see if I may share with my peers some of the other comments. They said that it went from a gathering space to a glorified sidewalk, that it would be like decorating your closet instead of fixing up your yard, that some of them would prefer going back to the original study. Some of the concerns have already been addressed. And in the council meeting that we had on September 29th, that accompanied a lot of comments, and in particular a survey that is estimated, according to the letter, that has over 100 individuals were represented with 41 businesses. And have you seen any trend in people that are becoming more positive as time goes on, or has it just consistently been a decline in support?
I would state that we're experiencing a continual non-supporting business community for this project.
Thank you. I know you were put in the front of some of these meetings that were a little difficult, as I witnessed myself.
Did we have any public comment before discussion?
Nope, the only comment is item
Ma-
11.
Madam Mayor, I do
Oh,
have a
online?
comment. The first speaker will be Kathy Green.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for your time and effort in this regard. I'm Kathy Green. I have an affiliation with CODA as well as the shopping center right adjacent to Lupine Lane, El Paseo Square. We have witnessed firsthand how this has all progressed. And during COVID, you know, it seemed like a really good idea given the restrictions on inside and everybody needing to be outdoors. Unfortunately, even during COVID, it didn't work well. There was just tons of garbage. It wasn't clean. People left their trash. There was rats. There was homeless people. We had a lot of issues. So while it was a really good intention, it never really worked. So the thought of making this permanent is very distressing to the surrounding businesses. I personally collected a lot of the petitions and talked to a lot of the business owners around me. And I didn't find support at all. So I think, we've repeatedly thanked everyone's efforts of late, the last year or so, when people are really trying to listen to what the surrounding businesses is saying and what the community is saying. And, on that regard, I'll finish, we don't believe this will add anything. It would be the funds would be better spent, in our opinion, on El Paseo, helping out the restaurants or making seating and, gathering spaces along where the shops are, where people could, look around, be more engaged in the street than off to the side. So again, I'd like to just thank everyone for really listening to what the community and the surrounding businesses have been saying over the last 18 months or 24 months, because I think you've mentioned a lot of it. The general consensus, at the time I had 39 businesses and 70 people against it, which was, an 80% on the Engage Palm Desert website at the time were against it. So, we just think that the money would be very well spent elsewhere. So thank you.
And the next speaker is Samuel Heaton. Mr. Heaton?
Hello, can you hear me?
You can begin, yes.
Okay. My name's Sam Heaton, and I'm director of CODA Gallery on El Paseo at Lupin Lane. As we've stated in previous council meetings, we continue to request that the city council discontinue the permanent Lupin Lane project, as it will have an adverse effect on El Paseo businesses and traffic flow in the area. Since CODA is located at the corner of El Paseo and Lupin, we were on the front line of the temporary plaza when it was originally implemented during the pandemic. It was not a success and was rarely used. During the temporary closure, we were very concerned about the safety of our customers and our employees. We witnessed more homeless activity and on occasion had to call the police to extract disorderly vagrants. We also witnessed a buildup of more trash and consequently more rodent activity in and around the area. Since the permanent project was first proposed, it has had very little general public support. A substantial number of businesses, residents, and other stakeholders have signed petitions, sent letters and photos, and otherwise voiced their objections to the permanent Lupin Plaza. We respectfully request that the City Council discontinue this multi-million-dollar project and invest these funds rejuvenating other areas of Palm Desert which are in need of improvement. Thank you for your consideration.
No other public comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there any conversation?
Yeah, for sure. I think in a year where we're going to the taxpayers with a ballot measure asking for a sales tax increase potentially, help fund public safety and everything else, I think this $3.8 million could definitely be used better elsewhere. It's just stick to the core. It's a nice idea if we had $100 million to put in infrastructure projects, but I definitely think the 3.8 million should be spent elsewhere. And this is a nice but not necessary project, in my opinion.
May I comment? And I agree with you, Councilmember Truby. We need to be very mindful of taxpayer dollars. And when I originally supported this project at Lupin Plaza, the point was to increase economic growth and improve the sales at our businesses, thereby increasing sales tax. So the whole point was to help our businesses and our community by increasing revenue with tax dollars. And it has spiraled into this disdain for the project of the very people we're trying to help. The people we want to help don't want the project. So I'll let my other council members continue.
I'm in the same column. This project got started because we wanted to create an amenity on the north side of El Paseo to help draw pedestrians to the north side and support businesses on the north side. Our budget study sessions Monday and Tuesday have made this a much easier question because we absolutely have critical public safety needs to fund, including additional motor officers to address traffic issues, including traffic issues on 74 that affect El Paseo. So in the face of those critical public safety needs, it does seem absolutely prudent to shelve this project and to look for ways to achieve our original purpose, which are less expensive and more warmly embraced by the intended beneficiaries. That said, I want to deeply thank staff for the labor invested in striving to refine this project, and also the extensive efforts to engage with our merchants. Hopefully, this whole experience affirms we do care what you think.
Well, I agree with what's been said. When the project first came around, it was really to help all those businesses, all that fast casual dining that exists on those plazas. And it was brilliant in what it did. And it was a great place to meet. And many people ate there, dined there, and then it kind of grew, the idea of becoming a park/plaza that would have been a nice amenity on El Paseo. But given all of those facts that you have just heard, and by the way, the homelessness, we worked with our sheriff department. They were creative in the way they dealt with it. They had solutions, and that was great too. So we knew that it could be done, but there is so much opposition to it that there is no reason to continue. Would it have been great to have a park, coda on the park? Sounds nice to me. But there's too much opposition. Those funds could be used for the raised crosswalks we are in dire need of on the west end of El Paseo to slow people down for safety. There are places those funds could be used. So I too thank the staff for all their creativity, all their great ideas that they came up with. And we'll save them, we'll use them for something else, I know. Because it was there were beautiful concepts that can be applied elsewhere. So I think it's time just to stop the project and see where else we can redirect those funds to enhance our community. And as Councilmember Nestande said, we invest those to generate sales tax revenue. And we'll see that happen elsewhere. So thank you.
I must say that I am very pleased to hear the engagement of our residents has led to allowing us to make better decisions and be good stewards and be fiscally responsible with money that we all want to see going to the city. We've mentioned public safety as a big priority. We've got the fire stations that need to be remodeled or the new one we need to start. I think that one of the constant underlying tones is they felt that this is a vanity project for El Paseo, that this is a beautification where this money could be spent in areas such as public safety, applying it to the park that anticipates the growth. So in the disparity of how things have not been allocated equally, I'm very happy to hear that Mayor Pro Tem Harnick is discussing looking at the crosswalks at the different parts of El Paseo. I have had a business owner where she said that at one point when they came to do the slurry, they never painted the crosswalk lines where across from her business at Prickly Pear. And I think that's just across from Mitch's. So those are little things that can be done to help allow our residents, our business owners to feel heard, where we can be responsible. And I support this going back into the general fund or whichever fund it came from, while we can discuss where are the best places to allocate these funds.
Tonight, we're simply asked which option we prefer. I move that we advise staff to select option 2, discontinuance of the project.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Nestande.
Yes.
Councilmember Trubie.
Yes.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to discontinue the project.
Thank you very much. Having concluded, did you say do you need a break? One second, Mr. City Clerk, do you anticipate that this next public hearing may be a little elongated? Do you?
We only have the appellant and staff to speak. At this point, no public has submitted comments.
Perfect. Okay, at this point, we move on to public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. The public may comment on individual public hearing items within the 3-minute time limit. The applicant or appellant will be provided up to 5 minutes to make their presentation. Speakers may utilize one of the 3 options listed on the first page of the agenda. Mr. Clerk, I also would like to verify that we have already sworn in the individuals that will participate ahead of time, and we will not be swearing them in at this time.
That is correct, Mayor. The appropriate personnel have signed the oath of testimony.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. For the record, Richard Canoni, Director of Development Services. The item that we'll be considering tonight is an appeal of the director's determination regarding a short-term rental and that a living room cannot be considered a bedroom for those purposes. Palm Desert Chapter 2, 1210 establishes that the duty of the director is to enforce provisions related to use of land and the such. I won't read through all of that, which also would involve the interpretation of the code in accordance with that. Palm Desert Chapter 2.72 establishes that the City Council shall hear appeals of those decisions. And just for the record, we have noticed accordingly as provided in that chapter. On March 5th of this year, I had sent an email to the owner clarifying that a living room cannot be used as a bedroom for purposes of the short-term rental. And in addition to that, provided an interpretation of what a bedroom, what we consider a bedroom for purposes of a short-term rental. I won't read through all of these and spare the time because it was provided in the backup. Just a brief history on the related to the short-term rental permit related for this property. The owner did purchase the property in November of 2021. In January, they obtained a short-term rental permit for a 3-bedroom unit. In January, the following year, there was a renewal of that short-term rental for a 3-bedroom. In July of 2023, one of the things we put forward in development services was for any new permits and any renewals, we would be verifying all of the information that was submitted on the application. So this was in relation to short-term rentals, cannabis, any use or any permit that would be submitted, especially those for renewal. We wanted to confirm that they were following those regulations and policies or procedures that were established by the City Council. In January of 2024, the owner did submit for a renewal. And with that, we have a number of tools that we use to verify the number of bedrooms. The first being the Riverside County Assessor's website. We also use RealQuest and Lawyer's Title. Those two items are included as attachment 3. And then we also review any building permit records to see if there were any permits for a bedroom addition. As you can see on attachment 3, these are the reports both from RealQuest as well as from Lawyer's Title. They show that this particular property at 239 Serena Drive is a 2-bedroom unit, not a 3-bedroom. On February 1st of 2024, the owner revised their application for a 2-bedroom unit, and staff approved and issued that renewal. As we were preparing for this item, getting that back up, we noticed there was a discrepancy in what we originally had from the assessor's office, and noticed that they were now reflecting it as a 3-bedroom unit. So staff did reach out to the county assessor, went to their office, and were able to obtain the screenshot that you see here that provides an audit trail. And at some point, it looks like on March 4th, at the request of the owner, they did change, as you can see here, the old value to new value, the number of bedrooms from a 2 to a 3, and the number of dens from a 1 to a 0. This is something that has been somewhat common. Typically, the assessor only changes status if there is a building permit issued, but we have now seen that at the request of the owner, they have granted those approvals without verifying with the city whether or not it is legal or was permitted. And so it's something that we've tried to work with them on, but again, unrelated to this, but it is an issue that we're continuing to deal with the assessor's office. On March 25th, on March 25th, the owner sent an email clarifying that they would like to submit an appeal. That's provided as attachment 3 based on the following 3 items. What we did on that very same day We, in accordance with Palm Desert Chapter 272020, we did provide a written determination addressing each one of those items. I do want to note that the request related to item 1 was in fact a determination that was made by the building official that was included in that letter. That letter, as you can see, that's provided in attachment 6, includes the responsible person or staff member for making that determination, as well as the appeal process and associated board. For this item, because it is an interpretation of the building code appeal that is heard by the Building Board of Appeals, that hearing is set for May 23rd. And so we wanted to make sure that nothing related to that request is either discussed or considered at this time, because an appeal of that board, if it is so filed, would be heard by the City Council. Regarding request 2, there were sort of 2 components related to this this determination. The first being how we looked at the living room not being considered a bedroom, and I'll paraphrase from the bottom of this item. There's that provision 510090G establishes the amount of overnight guests, and then for an on-site owner, if they are to remain there, the number of bedrooms that are available to rent are diminished. And so because we looked at that it does diminish the number of bedrooms, it doesn't grant the ability for that owner to stay in another room or even have a guest stay in the same room as them. We interpreted that as meaning that the intent of this council was to have, if you're going to have a short-term rental, they must stay in a bedroom, not in any other room. The second part, due to the lack of definition of a bedroom, we interpret the bedroom as you see here that was included in that letter. Again, I won't read through the wording of this, but this was our interpretation of a bedroom. I will say we looked at a number of code references. There's the Planner's Dictionary that we use, which is a publication from the American Planning Association. We looked at the ICC Property Maintenance Code, as well as just other definitions that I've dealt with through my years as a planner. The third request had to do with allowing up to 4 overnight guests per bedroom. This was an item that was not appealable because it really did not provide any interpretation. It was a strict code requirement, and therefore Section 27210B does not provide for the ability to appeal a strict code requirement. On April 4th, as you can see in attachment 7, the appellant did submit a letter appealing staff's determination of items 1 and 2. So again, for purposes of tonight, we will consider item 2 and whether or not they can allow for their living room to be counted as a bedroom. The next couple of slides, I'll be addressing our response to that appeal letter. The first, the appellant states that it's puzzling and believes that the reference to Palm Desert Code Section 510090G is irrelevant in defining the term bedroom. As I provided on the earlier slide, the language includes the owner shall be deemed to occupy at least 1 bedroom, which shall diminish the number of bedrooms for overnight guests accordingly. Based on this limitation, and again, on my experience, this language aided in the determination that if it was council's intent to allow an owner to stay in a room other than a bedroom, then they would have not, then this board would not, or this body would not have included that limitation in that section of the code. The second response that we would like to provide, where the appellant further disputes the interpretation that a bedroom must have a door and believes that the interpretation is arbitrary. And the appellant references 3 dictionaries, Merriam-Webster's, Cambridge, and Britannica. And to summarize from the letter, all which reference a room for sleeping with no mention of door. Staff also looked at those 3 reference items in how living room was defined, since it was not included as part of that letter. And as you see here, none of the definitions used for living room define that room as being a room for sleeping. Since a short-term rental is more of akin to a lodging use, we also looked at those three referenced dictionaries and how they define hotel, motel, and bed and breakfast. And you can see I won't read through all of those, but again, all three, similar to the bedroom definition, define it as a room to sleep. But the one common theme throughout all of these was the term room. And so we next drilled down a little further, used those same references to see how room was defined. And while only one did include a door in their definition, two did not. The third response, the appellant in a footnote sort of conjectures how a parent would react after learning that removing the door to their teenager's bedroom for whatever reason means that the door is no longer a bedroom. Again, what we're examining is not sort of a typical situation or typical residential property. We're considering an application for a short-term rental use, which is considered a lodging use that's rented to a transient as defined by the code. Again, short-term rentals are required to pay transit occupancy taxes, the Tourism Business Improvement District assessment, and again, typical residential properties, whether that be a rental, a long-term rental property, a for-sale property, they're not required to be licensed or permitted as a short-term rental. They're not required to pay either of these taxes. And again, only those transient uses, again, as defined by the code, are required to pay these transient taxes. It should be further noted that the definition of the three transient uses define it as a room to stay. But what those transit uses definitions do not include is that those rooms have a door. However, when staying at a transit use, whether it be a hotel, motel, bed and breakfast, short-term rental, we believe there's an expectation of privacy. And that form of privacy almost always involves for a room that the guest is staying. One could wonder, using that same definition or the same conjecture, one could wonder how a parent would react if they stayed with their teenager or even alone, whether it be in a hotel room, motel room, or short-term rental without a door. So again, based on the determination provided in that March 25th letter and the additional information provided in response to the appellant's letter, a living room cannot be counted as a bedroom for a short-term rental. It is reasonable to conclude that there is an implied privacy when sleeping in any room, whether that be a hotel room, motel room, bedroom, in a bed and breakfast, or bedroom in a short-term rental. And that implied privacy, while not always explicit, includes a door. Last but not least, our recommendation is to find that the staff report, including attachments and any additional evidence provided at this hearing, provides satisfactory evidence that the development director's determination was correct, and adopt a resolution provided as attachment 1 entitled a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Desert, California, upholding the Development Services Director's determination that a living room cannot be counted as a bedroom for purposes of a short-term rental and making findings in support thereof. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? You turn on your mic.
Do you have the floor plan slide you can put up there?
Unfortunately, I don't, since it was related to that, to the other request, I didn't include that.
Any other questions from my peers? Okay. Now, since the city clerk has already sworn in the appellant.
And the appellant will be represented by Mr. Sean Murphy.
Good afternoon. I know most of you, and it's good to see the ones that I know and all of you. Thank you for your time. Couple comments at first Number one, with respect to the assessor's office, it's incorrect to say that the appellant asked the assessor's office to change. It's quite the opposite. They changed it to 3. She asked them to change it back to 2 so that she'd have some record of the situation she was dealing with, and the assessor's office refused to do so. It still marks it as a 3-bedroom. Now, when they bought this property, it was marketed as a 3-bedroom. And I recognize that's not the city's problem. But they bought it with the expectation that they would be able to rent it on a short-term basis as a 3-bedroom. It obtained permits 2 consecutive times from the city, allowing it to rent as a 3-bedroom. And now the city has only recently changed to a 2. And that's an issue that we're not talking, but it leads into their efforts to try to recapture the revenue that they've lost. They've lost 1/3 of their revenue that they had for the previous 2 years since they purchased this property. So how can we do that? They can do it by renting what is considered a habitable room. And the city has admitted that the living room is a habitable room. It meets the window requirement, it meets the bathroom requirement, it meets the closet and storage requirement. The only thing it doesn't have is a bedroom or is a door that closes it off to the rest of the house. But the city has admitted in communications on February 27th, the building official, that a front room or living room meets the building code definition of a habitable space if emergency egress and rescue requirements are achieved. The building code is silent on whether you can sleep there or not. Now, we've all had people sleep in our living rooms. I've slept in my living room. I've had guests sleep in my living room. The discussion about whether or not guests of a homeowner pay transient occupancy tax is quite frankly irrelevant to whether or not it's a legal room where people can sleep. And we wouldn't have to engage in the battle of dictionaries if the city actually had a definition for bedroom, but it doesn't. So what ends up happening is the building official is regulating by interpretation. All of these discussions about whether or not you can put people there, whether it's good for taxes or whether it needs to have a room or whether privacy, those are all good discussions to have when the council is up there considering an amendment to its ordinance to address an issue that its ordinance currently doesn't address. But rather than do that, the building office is engaging in shadow regulation because the public doesn't know. There's no basis for them knowing. Without a definition of what a bedroom is, they're left to the whim of the interpretation of the building official. And this is highlighted by the fact that they went to other jurisdictions to look at what their regulations said, and they specifically addressed those things. So they relied on that in their interpretation. But other city and public agency regulations don't apply in Palm Desert. So rather than address the issue, which is the city's regulation is silent on this, they're regulating by interpretation, which is improper. Because it is a habitable room. People can sleep there. It meets all of the requirements of the building code. And all they're trying to do is recapture revenue that have been lost because they were lied to, not by the city and not accusing the city at all. But they do need to recapture that revenue, and they have a legal room by which they can do so. If the city at some point wants to change its ordinance to define a bedroom in a particular way, then it should take public comment. It should draft an ordinance or an amendment to the ordinance and have people comment on it. Because one of the things, and it's interesting because Councilwoman Nastande mentioned it in the last item, one of the city's objectives is to increase revenue, increase tax revenue. Well, the more people that short-term owners can rent to, the more tax the city will collect. And if the tax comes from someone sleeping in a habitable room, no one is harmed by that. The discussion about expectation of privacy, it's wonderful that the city is conscious of people's privacy, but that's for the renter to decide. You could have two couples with two small kids. The couples take the bedrooms and they put their kids in the living room. If that's fine for them, then they should be allowed to rent. And the owner should be allowed to rent to them. But it's not for the city to decide that's not good enough privacy for you. The renters can decide. If they look on the listing and they see the other two beds available are in the living room, they may choose not to rent there. To pick up on comment, if I saw that a hotel didn't have any doors, well, then I just wouldn't stay. I wouldn't think it's not a hotel. I wouldn't think that people couldn't sleep there. I would just make the decision to not stay there. Some people might, but it's their decision to make, not the city's. So the city has no real regulation in place to prevent them from sleeping there. The only thing it has is the building officials and the administrator's determination that we think a bedroom should have a door, even though we recognize our ordinance doesn't define bedroom and doesn't require it. We shouldn't have to turn to dictionaries. The city doesn't prohibit it, then it should be allowed. And the city doesn't prohibit it. So unless there's any questions, I have nothing further to add.
Questions or comments? Oh, sorry, I was looking at the word I had here to move along. Any questions we have? The appellant's representative?
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to the public comment that we have for item 11A. Mr. Brad Anderson.
Thank you again, Brad Anderson. I currently live in the city of Rancho Mirage. And just to highlight, I did submit written statements for everything I spoke on this evening or this afternoon, and they should be in the public record now. I have to worry concerning the city's attempt to prosecute this matter. Again, the homeowners took reasonable effort to contact the city, and now their contacts or emails are being displayed on a 10-foot pole or 10-foot. Anyway, I'm just appalled by how the city is handling this. And just to clarify, I guess the director would be the city manager in this case. I'm assuming that it's because they're throwing everything at it and they're using a lot of city resources to do this, and it's shameful, I believe. But I agree. There's no precedent. There's no city code that emphasizes what the city is trying to do, and that's to clarify a living room is not a bedroom or a sleeping quarters, whatever you want to call it. I'm afraid to even call my house having a living room now just because of this. I think I'll change the name to something else. And that's really all it is a name. And I will keep you long. I just wanted to emphasize that they are paying taxes. They are bringing revenue into the city, just like the attorney said for their parent said earlier. And I know I used to ski a lot. I would stay at the resorts a lot, condominiums. And yes, we're sleeping in the living room. We're sleeping in the quarters that everybody collects in, whatever you want to call that. And just in the city here, I think Embassy Suites haven't been brought up. They're sleeping in a living area, or what you would assume is a living area. So I think the city is overbearing. It's overreaching on this term. And if the property owner or the STR owner or operator wants to advertise that as a 3-bedroom or whatever the bedroom or spaces are, sleeping quarters, whatever the terminology they want to use, they should be able to do that. And the persons would be I guess, researching that if they, well, anyway, if they want return customers, they will cheat people. People will know what they're getting into before they rent. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone online for a public comment?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
Seeing that there is no public comment, is there any closing remarks from staff?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Dylan Gunzel. I'm from Best and Krieger, which is your city attorney's office. I'll make it brief. I want to point out a few issues. Although the code is silent itself to bedrooms, the code under sections 15.06.010 and 15.04.010 both adopt wholly the residential code and the California Building Code, which both define bedrooms for the purposes of construction and plans. To Councilmember Nastan's question regarding the floor plan, it is provided on page 382 of the staff report. And in that report, it indicates that this was built according to the plans as a den and a living room, not as a bedroom. And the reason, because they couldn't fulfill the actual statutory language to make it a bedroom in building. Also, as far as, just as in real property, somebody can put up a fence and say, this is my land. The legal description in surveys is what actually determines what your land boundary is. So just because it's listed or marketed or someone says that it's a 3-bedroom, the plans are what control until there's a building permit that's been pulled to change that. The reason we want to uphold this is because if it's not upheld, then we're setting an awkward standard where, you know, people can convert different rooms to allow excess people to stay there, creates concerns for ingress and egress and emergencies. And, you know, people, you give them an inch, they take a mile in that circumstance. So we just request that the council uphold and pass a resolution to keep this, uphold the determination, because doing the opposite would probably have likely impacts against the enforcement of these measures, which are there for safety purposes and taxing purposes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we have 5 minutes for the appellant's closing arguments.
I'm not sure why I brought them up. Yeah, but there has been no dispute that the building code, as they interpreted it, doesn't define what a bedroom is. They don't address the argument that they're regulating by interpretation, which is what they're doing. It's a shadow regulation. Don't touch that subject at all, because that would then require what I suggested earlier. The city actually has to amend its ordinance to address this issue. And it can't enter a decision based on an ordinance provision that doesn't exist. And it's not surprising that at the end, no disrespect to BB&K's lawyer, the lawyer comes up and the sky is falling. Oh, if we let this happen, all of these terrible things are going to take place. This issue is really kind of central to Monterey Country Club, because the way that place has been marketed and distributed over the years has created significant confusion as to whether they're 2 bedrooms or they're 3 bedrooms. I'm not aware of anybody in any other part of Palm Desert, and I do a lot of these things, where this has come up, where they need to use a habitable room, which means people can live and stay there, as additional sleeping quarters for renters. So the whole sky is falling, slippery slope argument, there's no evidence for that. It's just speculation. Always gets thrown in to try to justify why you should deny something, because, oh my God, if you allow it, the world's going to fall apart. It won't. You'll have a few people in Monterey Country Club that will list their living quarters as sleeping quarters because they're habitable spaces. They'll use it the way all of us use a habitable space, whether we're renting it long-term, whether we're live-in homeowners, or whether we're renting it on a short-term basis. There's no harm to anyone in that. Actually, you can say there's a benefit to the city because it gains additional tax dollars. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this moment, the public hearing is closed. It is 5:57 when we conduct or finish the public hearing, and at this point, we will allow the city council to deliberate and achieve a ruling. Thoughts, comments?
I have one quick question. What have we heard from the homeowners association on this? And I didn't see anything in the report. Have we heard anything from them on this? And I understand this is a business that we're talking about. It's not really a home.
We
So-
did meet with the executive board and inform them of the records that show that the intended use of that den, and as Dylan had indicated, and they are staying out of it is what we got from them.
Thank you.
So we need to be careful not to be distracted by the question of whether this is a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom condo, because that's not the narrow question posed by the appeal. The narrow question posed by the appeal is, may a living room be counted as a bedroom? The question holds the answer. It's a living room. And the criterion is not habitability. The kitchen is habitable. It probably has a pantry and a window. The bathroom may be habitable, but the very question holds the answer in that we use different terms to describe living rooms and bedrooms. Staff's presented definition for bedroom is detailed and commendable, and it matches common sense. It can't be said that this case would be free from extensive impact, because if a living room may be treated as a bedroom, that would apply to all short-term licenses and enable packing far more people into those premises with greater impacts for neighbors and for streets. So the facts warrant upholding the director's determination.
I have a slightly different take. I respectfully, I don't want to say disagree, and that's why I had asked for the floor plan. I know we have a copy here, but I thought seeing it blown up, sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. And this, okay. Because see, in my opinion, there's still a living room. There's still a space for people to congregate and watch television or do whatever they want. There's a living room. So we could use the word den. And in my experience being a realtor and a combined family with 7 kids, we quite often use a den as a bedroom. And so my take on it is that if we're going to look at the definitions at some point in the future, not at this meeting, although yes, it is, because we're defining the question. If a home has a separate living area, then the den, in my opinion, should be counted as a bedroom.
Oh, I got a little confused there because are we talking about the den slash bedroom or are we talking about the living room?
Well,
So our focus is,
Mr. City Clerk, would you be able to put that up there? I believe that's page 381 of the agenda.
Certainly. Give me just 1 minute.
Sure, thank you. I think that would help everybody be on the same page.
Let's see, I count 3 bedrooms and then a living room.
But the question for us is not whether each of those spaces called a bedroom on the diagram should be counted. The question is whether the applicant can advertise the living room, dining room as a sleeping space.
Okay, so see, that's where maybe I am getting confused. I see a room marked master bedroom, then bedroom 1, bedroom 2 for a total of 3 sleeping rooms. And then we go to the top of the screen where it says dining room, living room.
so there's the question. Is that living room a bedroom?
So right. They're advertising it as a 3-bedroom home. And I'm saying that seems accurate to me.
But our question is a living room a bedroom?
Well,
not what they're advertising it. We are entertaining right now, is a living room a bedroom? Not the other 3 bedrooms. And I hear what you're saying, but what is in front of us at this moment is a living room a bedroom?
if there is another living room.
So if I may, because this is very, very important. The first question in the staff report, can the applicant continue to use the 3rd bedroom, parentheses, den, based on the floor plans? We were specifically advised that there is a different appeal process for that question, and that we should not speak to that question since the issue could return to us. Is that correct?
But we're using the term living room, and perhaps the word should be den.
But there's 2 separate questions. One question is whether the den counts as a 3rd bedroom.
And I'm saying yes to that.
I think that if, I'm so sorry.
I think we need to hear from council about the appropriateness of addressing the first question.
As Richard mentioned earlier in the hearing this evening, the first question will be addressed on May 23rd and may well come back to the council. So if the council would be able to focus on, I believe it was presented as question 2 only.
So the point is that the issue of whether the den is a bedroom, whether these 3 spaces all count as bedrooms, has to first go through a different process to the Building Board of Appeals. So we should refrain from expressing an opinion about that until it goes to the Building Board of Appeals, who may resolve it in favor of the appellant such that it never comes here. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. It might have been better to have this issue debated after it went to the Board of Appeals.
So the sole question, we're being asked to ignore the 3 bedrooms and simply say whether the Director of Development made an appropriate decision in rejecting use of the dining space living room for sleeping.
I think
And it
that-
does say for a short-term rental as well. And I think
Yes.
that's worthy putting in there.
I think that when we look at this floor plan, it does help to get a visual. We are strictly focusing on the top right corner where it says the living room. How would we not know that in the future that patio could be enclosed with a door to that living room? Would that then satisfy the definition of the room? No, it would have to go before planning. It would have to go through all of the necessary processes in place to get the definition established of whether or not it meets the definition of a bedroom. Same for a garage. Just because you're already doing it does not make it legal. When the discussion was mentioned that, if you go to a hotel with a suite, you are entering essentially the 4 walls. It may or may not have a division, but it'll tell you 1 room, 1 bed or 2 bed, maybe a sofa bed. But it'll tell you there how many are seated, how many you can sleep there. But that's based on what you're seeing up front, what the contract is with the hotel. And you're not going to get a concierge that's sleeping on the other side of that door. This is for short-term rentals. You need to be able to know that the owner's on site should anything be needed, but you must have privacy. In terms of, all of us have gone somewhere and visited a relative, and whether you have an air mattress or it's unexpected and you're on the couch, that's family. Those are your loved ones. I don't think of anybody that charges rent for their loved one to say, hey, you're going to come here and I'm going to make you pancakes in the morning. It's a bed and breakfast now, and I'm going to charge you for it. I think that's very different than establishing the definition of whether this living room can be converted into anything by the definition or the interpretation of the appellant. We need to, this is perhaps the opportunity, as mentioned, we need to clarify our code. We need to be more specific, but that's a topic of a discussion for another time. The decision that has been presented for us is to make a determination based on, is that living room a bedroom? If it were to be a bedroom, I think it would have said bedroom on there. If it were meant to be a den, it would have said den. Independent of how it was marketed, presented, if the owner did not do their due diligence, that's between them and their realtor. I don't think that this is between them and the city. It is a complex situation. Every decision that we make, we are here, we have people watching online. I can't imagine how many people are watching on YouTube because they are waiting to watch us, to make a decision so they can put in their application next. Should there be any problems that arise, what are the odds someone's going to come back to the city and say, your ordinance is flawed and look what happened to me as a result. I believe it's in our best interest as a city, as residents, as our guests. We must ensure that we have clarity. But for right now, I do not believe that that is a bedroom in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I agree. Looking at the diagram, I am not calling what's marked living room a bedroom. Looking at this particular diagram, my concern is to have a one size fits all in our definition in the code. That's why I like this diagram up. Looking at this diagram, and I know the appeals board is going to rule on it, but just looking at the diagram, I see the word bedroom for one room, bedroom for two, bedroom for three. I do not see the living room that's marked living room as a bedroom.
But again,
All right, I think we've focusing on the issue that's before us now, recognizing that we have a distinct issue before the Building Board of Appeals, which may rule that there are 3 bedrooms, but focusing on the specific issue before us now, I will move to uphold the director's determination with the recommended actions.
I'll second.
Ready for the vote, Madam Mayor?
yes, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Harnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Nastandi,
I have to abstain because I take issue with the premise of the wording of what we're voting on.
Councilmember Truby,
Yes.
Mayor Quintanilla.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0 with Councilmember Nastandi abstaining.
Having concluded the public hearing, the decisions, we now move on to information items. Is there anything upcoming, anything exciting that we should know about? Okay, Mother's Day, absolutely. If say hello to whomever your mother figure is, whether they are here, they are past. Celebrate moms, celebrate love. Be well. Thank you.